All right, everyone, we are taking a look at the second lesson in which we are talking about rates. So we're going to be comparing ratios and rates. We're working on page 11 in our workbook. The main objectives are going to be writing ratios, comparing ratios, mostly the rates, and then solving problems using unit analysis, proportions, and unit rates. The first thing that we need to do is we need to just know the difference between ratios and rates. So ratios actually compare quantities of the same units. So if you're comparing, let's say in recipe, 1 cup of sugar to 2 cups of flour, so because they're using the same units, that is called ratios. So because we're using the same units, we don't really include the units when we do the calculations or write them, because they're basically are using the same ones. So we say A ratio B or A over B. So those would be your ratios. So the way I remember them as mostly recipes. Rates, on the other hand, do specify our units because we're comparing them with two different quantities. So they have two different units that we are actually using. So an example is meters per second, which is speed. So you can use that. And very common one is when we're shopping, when we are buying something for per dollar, or that's the amount that we have rates in them. Now, what is the difference between rate and unit rate? So rate basically gives us basic comparison of a price. Let's say we're talking about when we're shopping something. So that would be the price of, let's say, a dozen bananas are for $5. That's a rate. So all we know is certain amount of object, one quantity for this much amount of money, which is the other quantity. So in this case, we are comparing bananas for money. Now, if you were buying a dozen for $5 in one store, and then you find another deal, but it's selling in a different denomination. So they're saying, well, we're going to sell 4 bananas for $2.8, or that's the cost. So you don't know which one is better. If we actually want to compare two deals, the best way to do that is to bring them down to unit rate. So unit rate basically means a rate that is expressed with a denominator of 1. Okay, so in the example in here, 25 meters per 2 seconds is a rate, but if I divide 25 with 2, when I do that, I am changing this denominator to 1. So 25 over 2, if I divide my 25 by 2, which is essentially like an equivalent fraction, then I get 12.5 over 1. So now I'm saying it's 12.5 meters for 1 second. Okay. I can use the same thing in comparison when we're doing something like shopping over here. So here we have 12 for $5, which means 12 bananas for $5. And if I were to go 12 divided by 5, so that's what I would do, but that's actually what we're doing right over here, like this. It turns into 2.4 over 1. So now my denominator is 1. That's what we mean by unit rate. Our denominator is 1, so we can say that it is 2.4 bananas for $1, but the way we read it is, in this case, is bananas per dollar. So the symbol just means per, meaning $1. So what in this comparison, I know that it is 2.4 bananas for $1. Okay. And I could do the same if I were to compare. I think more effectively, I would probably go and say, if I have $5 for 12 bananas, if I write my ratio this way, then 5 divided by 12 would be $0.42 for 1 banana. So in this one, I'm doing cost per banana. Okay, so in the way we write them makes a difference as which way are we getting our unit rate for. The first one I was getting it for per dollar, the second one I'm getting it for per banana. So please make sure when you're reading them, read it carefully and slowly and see how they have organized it and how you're comparing them.